Hey guys, what's up? It's Robin Vogt from the Brick City Blockade Podcast Network and Star Wars Rebels recap here from the Podcast Network. And of course, sitting across from the pond from me is Mr. Scott Inch. Scott, let's fire this stuff away. We got a Star Wars Rebels Season 4 trailer. What are your overall thoughts about this? And again, like we say here on the Podcast Network all the time, boy oh boy, did it pack a punch.
It certainly did. I liked the start of the trailer. That's what I really got to me first was like her kind of telling a story. So we took a young boy who become a man, a fallen knight, a girl, a war hero, or a war thing. So we kind of got this wee story, and then we got that first look at a wolf running along. So yeah, I love this trailer. It's just sad it's the final season.
Absolutely. You know, if you guys were watching the panel live from the Star Wars show, wherever you were in your PJs, like Jared Chilson, or out walking the dog like he was as well, you guys were able to see that Dave Filoni and a lot of the cast members were very emotional about the announcement of this being the last season of Rebels. And we know, being on Rebels Recap, Mr. Brian Fontaine couldn't join us, but we are as emotional about this being the last season as well. And it's kind of nice that they kind of tied this all in, Scott, with this being the last season, and have everybody up on stage for this.
Yeah, it was nice to see Freddie, Vanessa, is it Taylor?
Yes.
Yeah. Tia and is it Steve? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All up on stage, like probably for the last time together on a stage like this, a celebration. Talking about Rebels, talking about what their characters, where they'll be from season 3 to season 4, and also seeing Warwick Davis come out of stage to play a character from Legends called, I'm going to mispronounce this, but Rook. So yeah, it'll be good to see him. We'll hear him in Rebels.
That's going to be absolutely fascinating to see how that's going to play out. One of the things we were talking about this, Scott, as this panel was happening, and the first comment that you sent over to me was, Robin, get the towels ready. I know there's something coming. And not only did I need some towels, but I did need a couple of tissues in a couple of moments, because I could understand the emotions of, again, this being the last season, having everybody on stage for it, and again, Filoni having to make this announcement. But there's a lot more that I think Filoni has planned for this season, that after Rebels ends, maybe we're going to continue a story. But other than that, let's talk about this physical trailer itself. You brought up the beginning of the trailer with what it looked like to be Kanan Jarrus riding on some kind of wolf creature. Now, I have my suspicions about it, but we're going to save that for our regular Rebels recap show once we get into it. Scott, I'm curious to hear your perspective on this. Mando. It's a word that we know Filoni talked about last season. Get ready for more Mandalorians. Boy, was that a brain shaker, seeing so many Mandos.
Yeah, it's just going to be so good. I think we're kind of going to get this epic battle that was kind of, the Civil War that was kind of talked about in at the finale of season 3. I think we're going to finally see it. We haven't really had much of the Mandalorian since the Clone Wars TV series, and I think Filoni just wants to kind of get back into that. He kind of had to take his time to do it, because he couldn't do it in season 1, couldn't do it in season 2. He touched on it about season 3, and we know how much we all loved that 2-parter that we had just back in February with Sabine, that arc there. I know you had lots of titles for that one. So when we get into season 4, we're going to see tons of Mandalorians, and hopefully on Mandalore itself, like how we know that the Mandalorians, some of them are more loyal to the Empire, but hopefully we see them turn away from that and join the Rebel Alliance, which also we saw as well.
Now, we talked about this, and I know this character is one of Mr. Brian Fontaine's favorite. It is Agent Kallus. And the minute I saw him come up on screen with the haircut and the Rebel Alliance outfit, I was like, oh my goodness. This is a character that Star Wars Rebels fans are now going to fall in love with. Not necessarily, maybe they already fell in love with him as an Imperial commander, but just as this Rebel Alliance leader, seeing him saying, we got to start this job, we got to get the job done. That was a big moment for him, knowing how much of his story progression we've been talking about, Scott, on Rebels Recap.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go back to the very, very first episode of Rebels, he was like, the minute Kanan came out and lit up his lightsaber, he was like, kill the Jedi. To now, where we had that episode in season 2 where we had Zeb and Kallus working together, and then Zeb goes back to the Ghost crew, and he was welcomed with open arms. And when Kallus went back to the Empire, nobody really cared that he was living or he could have died. Nobody cared. So he kind of saw that a different side. And then in season 3, when we saw him become Fulcrum and try to outmaneuver Thrawn, and then just to see him and then join the Rebel Alliance at the end of season 3, but to see him in a Rebel outfit with a new haircut, which was quite funny during the panel because we were laughing about Kallus's hair. How that has a significant point in any storyline. It's the hair. You could do a whole episode around Kallus's hair. How he got it cut. I would love to see that episode, but I don't think we're going to get that in the final season. But yeah, so just to see him come out and say, let's get the job done, I can't wait. And I didn't like him in the start, but boy, oh boy, season 3 changed my opinion of him.
He is going to end up being a major character heading into season 4 of Star Wars Rebels this fall. Another thing I want to talk quickly about, Scott, before we call this special episode, a wrap, and we finish our trailer reaction here. I want to talk about the focus on Hera in this trailer, because I think we have a sneaky suspicion, not just as a podcast network, but as Star Wars fans, that, again, we are moving closer and closer to the events of Rogue One. And we obviously know that the Ghost is present during the Battle of Scarif, and that of course, the announcement of General Syndulla on Yavin was very apparent in Rogue One. The focus on Hera is starting to push me towards the way that she's the one who's going to make it through, and she is going to be the focus of this season. Maybe just some backstory and maybe just some more about how she's going to continue into this universe.
Yeah, she's definitely going to be one to watch this season. She'll become one of those important people in the Rebel Alliance. Even though we haven't, she obviously with the original trilogy, she's not in there, but we could probably get that in a background story in a book or something. But yeah, she's going to be instrumental, I think, in bringing the Rebel Alliance together, getting all different factions to work together with Mon Mothma to bring everybody together, so that when we get to the stage of Rogue One and Rebels, we get to see what Filoni hopes is the outside, like seeing the battle from inside the Ghost perspective, all the way up to the edge. And she's going to play a very pivotal role in that.
It's going to be exciting to see what plays out with season 4 of Star Wars Rebels. And you guys have to keep it locked to Rebels Recap. Starting when season 4 kicks off, we will have our first episode ready to go with you guys, Brian Fontaine, Scott Inch, and myself. Prepare yourselves for one heck of a season of Star Wars Rebels, the last season, season 4. Well, Scott, I think it's that time of the show. It's a little thing we like to call here
Plug Time.
Plug Time. Where can the good people find you on social media?
You can find me on Facebook at Scott Inch and on Twitter at ScottInch85.
You guys can follow me on Twitter at Mr. Vote Tweets. Head on over to Instagram. Follow me at The Official Vote. Make sure to subscribe. Please subscribe to the podcast network on iTunes. And check out BrickCityBlockade.com for all your news and all your updates about a galaxy far, far away. For Mr. Scott Inch, this is Robin Vote of the Brick City Blockade Podcast Network and Star Wars Rebels Recap. And we will see you soon. May the Force be with you.
Always.